Keshe Foundation, an independent, non-profit, non-religious, space-based organization founded by nuclear engineer Mehran Tavakoli Keshe, is introducing to humanity the science of the universe, plasma science. Keshe Foundation develops universal knowledge and space technologies that provide solutions to major global problems, revolutionizing agriculture, health, energy, transportation, materials, and more. The application of plasma science in the form of specially developed plasma reactors and other devices will give humanity the real freedom to travel in deep space. Plasma science exists throughout the whole universe. It is here and it belongs to you. Our knowledge, research, and development regarding the plasma structure has progressed to the point of enabling everyone to participate in the process. Become a creator and understand the work of the universe for the good of humankind on this planet as well as in space. The use of megravs, nanomaterials, GANS, liquid plasma, field plasma, and other plasma technologies have come as a new dawn for humanity to progress and work in harmony with the universe. Conventional technology applications are wasteful, damaging, and cause pollution to the planet and all living beings. Plasma science provides solutions and improves existing methods and use of resources in all aspects that touch the lives of all beings. Plasma is defined by the Foundation as an entire content of fields which accumulate and create matter and is not defined by its physical characteristics like ionization or temperature. Also, with plasma science, we understand how we can convert matter back to the fields. Quoting from Mr. Keshe, MeGrav stands for magnetic gravitational, which means plasma absorbs or gives. And every plasma has the both. It has give and it has take. And when they can't find the balance, they distance themselves until they find the balance they can give to the others. That they can receive what they want to receive and give further. Certain atoms and molecules release and absorb magnetic or gravitational fields. Released fields are available to be absorbed by other objects. The Keshe Foundation has developed a way to gather these free-flowing fields from the environment within a resourceful and beneficial new state of transitional matter, which MT Keshe named GANS. The first step of the process of the formation of various basic types of GANS is nanocoating metals. This is carried out either chemically by etching, steam coating with sodium hydroxide, or thermally by heating, fire coating by gas burner. During either coating process, gaps between outermost layers of atoms are created. The residual coating is often referred to as nanocoating, defined by the structured layers of nanomaterial, which build up during the creation process of the coating. Nano-coated metal in interaction with other various metal plates in a saltwater solution creates megrav fields. These fields then attract available elements to form a specific GANS, which collects and settles at the bottom of the container. This GANS is formed from independent energized molecules like little suns that can be used in various applications.
The Keshe Foundation is extending an invitation to medical doctors of any practice and speciality to apply to the Foundation's private weekly medical teaching workshop. This includes medical doctors, dentists, and veterinarians. Scientists of the Keshe Foundation developed different types of plasma therapies and cures that utilize advanced, non-invasive plasma technology. The weekly private medical teaching workshop educates doctors to the plasma science behind the therapies, along with the functionality and operation of revolutionary plasma medical devices. The goal of the private teachings is to add plasma health knowledge to the profound knowledge of medical doctors. The weekly class is broadcast live over the internet through a secure private channel every Wednesday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central European Time. Presently, the class is only offered in English. However, you are free to bring a translator to the class. If you can't participate in the live broadcast, you can watch them later at your convenience through a private internet portal. Every patient's case that is discussed in the workshop will be kept anonymous and private. This includes cataloged findings and data gained from the analysis of the patient's health issues. Any medical doctor in the world who wants to participate can do so by sending an email to doctors@spaceshipinstitute.org. In your email, please state your willingness to participate in the medical teaching workshop. If you're planning on bringing a translator to the workshop, please state this in your email as well. After we receive your email, we will contact you with the instructions on how to apply to the workshop. As a part of the application process, applicants who apply, including any translators brought into the workshop, will be required to sign the Keshe Foundation's World Peace Treaty, which can be found at the following web address. All applicants will be required to provide proof of their education and ability to practice medicine, and will also be required to pass an extensive security background check before they are granted access to the teaching workshop. Healthful plasma technology is here, now, the use of which is increasing exponentially on a day-to-day basis on every continent. We encourage you to come and learn about this revolutionary technology. Apply today.
Welcome everyone to the 168th Knowledge Seekers Workshop of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. It is Thursday, April 20th, 2017. And once again, we're gathered to listen to Mr. Keshe with the latest developments from around the world in plasma science. And I think he'll be talking at least a little bit today about the Ghana developments in the spaceship center and so on. And also we've just had the Tuesday workshop on cancer solutions in exchange for peace. And that was quite an interesting presentation that people can review. That's the Tuesday, April 18th, 2017. Available on YouTube and other media sites. Okay, Mr. Keshe, are you ready to begin there?
Yes, good morning, good day to you, wherever and whenever you listen to these teachings. As usual, we start with some announcements and then we carry on with our work. Today we show the progress in Ghana, and as you can see, if you can play the picture of the site, the design has been drawn by the architects, and that the picture or the site will look like this when it's fully developed. Rick, would you like to share the picture?
Yes, just a second here. There we go.
As you can see, this is a proposed picture for the site. We have the two wings on each structure. The small with the dotted line are there. I think if I can wait, I can go. No, yeah. This is the entrance. This part is going to be the clinical section. This is the administration. This part in totality becomes the research and development. Sorry, this part becomes the factory. This is the research and development, and the back section is a space flight section. There is an addition of 4 launching pads in the background, and thank you very much. And this is how it looks. This is the atomic road as we see it. and we can see how these things develop. The development of this process is very simple. We have foreseen as a one-story block where the most of the research and development will go through. Some of this microphone is open. So the structure is set to take, this is something like 80 meters by around 250 meters. And we expect to see this operational within the next few months. The structure is said to be simple to operate and maintain. We have certain facilities on the ground where there are water systems going under the building, and the architects have taken all this into account. There is possibly some land movement we have to do, but we have to foresee the water channels which go through. The structure will be made mainly by the same materials as we developed, that we can keep the internal structure cool, and where we do not need to have much cooling systems. We work within the structure, and with it we develop more and more in what can be done with this technology. The process will be that, in a way, the research and development section is connected to manufacturing, to the space side, and in a way is connected to the clinical side. Everything is in one side. The present factory is somewhere in this distance, so we are part of a Still Atomic Commission, and we have to see how we can progress to the next step of development. And the progress is extremely vital to our work as we go further and we understand more. We do not expect any difficulties. It's a straightforward structure, and the lower building sites will be about 3 meter to 3.5 meter height. The taller one is about 5 meter, which covers the factory and research development section. We've been told that the gentleman who has offered to build the building should be there around 28th, 30th of this month.
Mr. Keshe, that's a kind of a tall building. It's still 1 story, right? But still has a tall roof. Is that the idea?
Altogether, pivot point is about 5 meters.
Compared to the entrance, it looks like the entrance there would be a normal height.
Yeah, the structure is that it won't be more than 5 meters, because you have to look at the internal design. We have a 3-dimensional internal. This is how it, if you look in the background, the height is not much. Okay. It's just the front, it looks that way. So we have to finalize this in next week or so, and then we'll see where we go from there on.
Thought you might have some larger craft that you might be producing in the center.
We have a huge property around this area. The property is not a problem for us. We can extend in any direction. Here, about 2 kilometers still is part of atomic. That way is about 2 kilometers still part of atomic. If you want to expand, the launch pads and everything else can be added to. The top end, which is this one, is where we have portable doors that everything can be taken in and out. So we can open nuclear aircraft hangars to take things in or out, or objects. This is the road system which goes around it and it comes back out. These are all the entrances, and everything is separated completely. we see and we'll try to see how far we can extend the knowledge. And in the coming time, a lot of work will be done. As the building development carries on, we will enlighten you. As we said, this project now has started, but the main project is to building it is one game. Furnishing it with the materials and equipment is another. That's where the international request goes out that we need financial support for all the machinery and equipments for this place. We estimate we'll run into at least 100 million over next year, 2 years. We have identified some of the suppliers of the materials we primarily need for a space field detection, we think. And right, laminar spectroscopy machines and everything else has already been committed to. It looks like a space rocket if you look at it, but it's got a head on top of it. That if you look at the very much the Star Wars movies and that kind of thing, it looks very much like that if you look at it. But it's set up to serve the community in so many ways. And at the same time, we can create a lot of work in the area. If there is any other question, we can answer. Otherwise, we go to the next page.
Well, Jay mentions in the chat, it looks like the SS Enterprise, as if the whole building could take off. I love it, he says.
We got to see how and the way we can approach it, and how we can develop this into a center of excellence for space development. The way it's set up is that the factory will finance the research and everything else. And at the same time, as part of the what we call interaction with the community, part of this building here will be set up for specific jobs, like teaching the new scientists, teaching the youngsters, because we have a building across as well. I've lost my capability to write. You have to allow me to annotate. Do you have that, Rick? Somehow I lost it.
No, I don't have.
I used the rubber and then it disappeared. Okay.
Try clicking on a different window first, maybe, and back again.
Or the view options and annotate again.
Maybe it needs to be full screen.
No, I don't. Oh, it's back again. This part of this section, part of this building will be used for educating the youngsters and with the computer programs and the rest. So we keep it interactive. And the university is on this side, so we have no problem. This side will be run with the collaboration of the GAN Atomic team. There is a hospital here, which belongs to Atomic. There's another hospital getting built somewhere in distance there, half built. So it'll be a collaboration between everyone. And this is how we see it at the moment.
Dennis makes one suggestion that it could use, which is the KFSSI symbol above the entrance.
Yeah, these are architectural.
Yeah.
It will be called, as we said, it will be called the name of the KFSSI. GAN Atomic will be on the top, but the building most probably called to the name of His Excellency the President Nana Adud. So because this here, just right here, one of the main roads in this part of the city passes. So this will be a request for that to be done, and we'll see what it can be done. There is a lot of movement in this area, and hopefully as atomic is becoming obsolete, plasma will take over, and maybe we move into the Ghana Atomic Commission to make it the Plasma Commission. These are all to be discussed in the coming time, but we'll see an amalgamation of the Ghana Atomic and Keshe Foundation in a short time, as we literally become as part of the other. In opening the research centers, we have a lot of scientists who are working on atomic. We can move to this site, and with it comes a lot of support from other institutes and organizations. That's all we can show you, and that's all it is. So as we told you, you had the pictures. Now we had the sketches last time. Now we have a three-dimensional drawing of it, and from there on we go into the next step of the development, and see how far and who we go in the direction of the development. It's very four-wall, straight job. There is no fancy works to delay it, because we want to go ahead very rapid. We rely on the developers and the architects to finalize everything very rapidly, that we can start what you call completion of the building in the coming months. With this goals phase, as you know, we requested and we put a request out for those who want to be part of the MOZHAN program. Now that we got to this phase, the MOZHAN program starts from 20th of May in Accra. Those of you who applied or you want to join have to complete by sometime in end of this month. Those who have paid and coming to Accra, the course has been set from 20th of May to end of June, and due to the summer holidays that the whole university shuts down, you come back again in 1st of September or 15th of September till end of October. Those of you who advance into the technology development, and if you like to stay with the foundation space development technology, and we see you appropriate to be part of it, you get employed by the foundation, which means you become part of the structure of the space technology. Those of you who want to complete your the application, you have to complete this by end of this month. We have something like 20th or 21st. In the next 9 days, we close the book, and then you have to make sure you have all your vaccination completed. You have to have a yellow fever vaccination, and on your arrival, try to arrive at least a few days before that you can organize your accommodation. We try to help you. In the area, there are some accommodations, I think it can be helped, but you got to understand, you're coming into Africa. You're not coming into, what do you call it, the way you think you are used to. You have to adjust, and according to what you can afford, and be prepared to live off the European standard of living, not the African, because it'll take your time to adjust to it. Some people do very quickly, and some people don't. On the other hand, we need to go ahead with this process, that we have people ready to go into the next phase as we develop the space technology. We have people who can carry on with the flight system and everything else. Those of you who come to Accra, do not think you're coming to make nanomaterials or whatever. You should be an expert in everything you have. We teach you totally theoretical. With the materials you have to comply and develop. As we said, you don't need materials. You have to understand how with the minimum you need, you can do. The structure will be set that you will be taught in the university building across the site. And by the time you finish and come back for summer holidays, then the site will be ready that you will be working in effectively the building, which the test and everything else will be going on. It is important that we keep everything according to the rules and regulations. and it is important that we do not go beyond our own understanding of our technology. We do not try to bring other things into this. We try to be very precise in exactly what we do, what you have to do, what is expected of you, and we start training more or less as part of people who come in as what we call captains of the plane, the ships. Our main program primarily is to find out who has the capability of the control systems. As we know, the way is different with us than the others. And then how you can facilitate, how you can understand systems, how you can envisage. Most of the teaching goes back to understanding of the operation of the emotion and the soul, and in what you feel, how you feel, in how you control. Gadgets and digital systems are obsolete in this game. So be prepared to understand the technology. Be prepared to understand the emotion behind technology. Be prepared to understand the totality of the industry. We are now bringing people like we did with the first course to start with the reactors, with the cores and the rest. If you have any coils, any cores, any material you think you might need, bring with you. Please make sure, if you, some of you I know have made cores, some of you have made dynamic cores, bring it with you, because then you can amalgamate, you can mix it and understand it with your process. It is important that we understand the totality. It is important that we understand, as part of the totality, how the structure is set. It is important for us to understand how we can go to the next step of the development. We are not expecting you to walk in, but if you have followed the teachings in the past few months and past few years, and you've seen the dynamic system, you understand what we are doing since Christmas, you understand the way the technology is going to go. You are expected within 3 months to be excellent in the total understanding. As you go back, when we started in training, I thought 3 months solid every day in the process. It will be more or less the same. Teaching will be solid by me or by other member teams of the Keshe Foundation, who try to teach you how and what we see. We most probably see Armin and John in the background teaching. The teaching will go online and offline between Arizona, Keshe Foundations around the world, where we bring systems to you, to your attention, and the way we expect you to do things. You become very much aware of your own existence with this technology. You become aware of what it needs to be done. You become aware of what are the limitations of yourself. And then in that process, you decide in which way you want to go, in which way it is important to go, in which way it is possible that they can go with everything which is possible, only we know. We don't expect any deviation from the process we have started. We expect to be able to launch without and through the structure which we have seen already in Arizona, and some of you who've seen the system in Rome in the conference. The process is very, very simple. The process is that we have to be able to organize ourselves in a given condition. We have to be able to organize ourselves in a direct position of application. We need to know how we can bring energies in position, that the materials can be used as energy and conversion to the whole thing. We expect you to be fully in understanding of the technology by the end of the 3 months. If we see a further need for further development or teaching, we carry on. Those of you who come to Ghana, be prepared for warm climate and be prepared for a very different way unless you come from South America. It is warm, it is extremely warm, and in position it can be uncomfortable for those who are not used to it. Be prepared fully that if you stay for years, because it's part of the development of the space technology. Most probably for some of you becomes second home. We know one of our participants coming from South America, he is from understanding of most probably some of the conditions. Others the same. Please come fully equipped. You need everything else. We try to send you leaflets or give you some information. Go on the website and understand what you need when you arrive in Accra. Arrive a week before. We try to put some people to show you where it is and what you got to do, where you come. We need to get you clearance that you can enter the security zones. But we received a lot of applications. It has to be completed, fully paid by the end of this month, that we can start organizing, knowing where and who comes and what is coming. Going into what we have seen in the process of Tuesday's cancer process, we have to understand. Would you like to change the screen, please? Because I can stop sharing. I've lost control on this thing. Okay, no problem. What we have at the moment, we have opened the knowledge for the others to follow, for the others to carry, for scientists to start the development. We have not opened a thing that others just come and copy. You have to understand what we put on the table. These are research papers. These are not that we are going to do this and that. These are an insight of the research done by the scientists, and their progress has been observed. The papers which have been written, and is for other scientists to join us to evaluate and in a way to expand the technology. This is a test on animals, and is for you and the institutes to further develop. It is for you to understand how, especially with the doctors. We know a large number of doctors and scientists were behind watching the progress. As you've seen, we have posted one on the website. Rick, could you play the communication we received? These are one of the people you've seen as one name, or what name being present, or people who were present on the teaching. Would you like to show the communication we received? Are you there, Rick?
Yeah. Yes. Just a minute, Mr. Keshe. Let me get that set up here. This is about
from the university.
From the medical university of Esteban. Okay.
You see, this is the information sent to us by the doctor and people who've been in the background. There have been many, many people sitting at groups, governmental or institutions, and this is what we have to look into. This is what we need to look into. this is what we have to take further steps to make sure that the technology this way expands and cannot be blocked. We did not. Can you go ahead, please?
Sorry, you want me to share screen on a text
Yes,
of
please.
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can read it too. These are the cadre of people who've been in the background listening to the teaching. Can you open it up, please? Read it, please, for us.
Okay, it says, excuse me, I'll get my microphone. It says about the Tuesday International Lecture on Cancer. Mayran, John, thank you for the lecture today. It was excellent. I had the medical research team of the Estefan Medical University online listening to the whole thing. Many others were invited, and the lecture was shared on new social media channels as well as different web pages. Congratulations and thanks.
Isfahan Medical University is one of the main medical universities in Iran. Scientists across the world were there. We know a number of you invited government officials to be present. These are part of starting the movement in a large scale, that the other scientists see there is opportunity and there is a possibility. We need to understand how this will be applied. As we said, we do not give you a system that this is it. We enlighten that there is such opportunity. The papers are scientifically done and scientifically dated, and it's for most of you to be able to evaluate and do it and follow the procedure which has been produced. This is part of the structure. This is part of the development. We do not claim anything. We just show that by the test done, it is safe. We have done the same things for certification of CO2 in Ghana. All been certificated by the standard boards and the other authorities that the material is safe, material is not toxic. They've done the physiology and bacteriology on it. And this is just adding and adding more and more into the research. Adding into understanding of the research, adding into understanding of the materials in this research. How people use it, how people do it, how they add to it, is all part of understanding of the totality of the science. If you are researchers, you are welcome to join us to take further action and test more. And in so many ways, to see how far we can go with this process, how far we can develop this process, how much we can develop this process. Who is to test the effect of other things? Who is there to test the effect of majority of things? Who is there to be able to develop these things? Which pharmaceutical, which individuals, which laboratories? The layout has been set completely. The layout has been done in a complete form. It's for people who want to test it and they want to try it, to develop it. It's not the responsibility of Keshe Foundation. If you try to test it yourself, it's the risk, which we don't call it a risk, but is a condition you accept to do. It is for you to assess and develop. It's for you to see the next steps development. This is exactly like the way we did with the MAGRAV system. People made their own. Some reduced their electricity by 30%, some by 80%, some did different things to it. And we see some people just use it for emotional support and getting a better feeling. The process of the cancer research is to show there is an alternative. We expect huge opposition from different angles, but now that is out, it's for people to develop it. It's for the organizations to take it a step further. It is for them to be able to prove in what condition and where and how it will work. It's for gathering a data from those who have used the system to show how the system has worked. We show research papers. We do not go into the human trials with the material which is shown and is being tested. This is the step which goes now into the hand of the physicians. It goes from this point on to the hand of the people who can take, understand, and develop and control and monitor. Those of you who have already, many of you have tested different kind of GANSes for your own use. You know the process, how you did and what needs to be done, and you have used it for different application forms. Now we're going to the next step. Now we're going to the step that we do the scientific research papers delivered. It's done by us. We do the research, we do the work, we do with other organizations. And all these are shared. This is how the whole structure of the research will go. This is an international research. This is not an individual research. This is a combination of all the Keshe Foundation supporters who develop the technology, who deliver the technology, who bring the technology to the point of delivery. We need to know how it's done, the way it's done, and in what way it will respond. We have shown the doctors and the laboratories how to produce the material which we have produced openly. So it cannot be hidden, it cannot be shelved. Many people have made a screenshot of the program and the teachings are in the background. All these will stay on for you to carry on, to go back, to refer to, and decide in which way you want to use the materials. In which way you want to apply the materials. These are not medicines. These are creation of conditions of environment of the plasma. We are not taking medicine, we're just creating environment of the energies. It is important that we understand fully that there is no ambiguity about the process we have developed and we have shown. It's much faster system. It is much powerful system. It is safer system, and it has to be seen that it works and operational in all directions. Are there any questions up to now?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. I can again remind the viewers they can put their hand up if they wish, and I can promote you to a panelist, and you can ask your question verbally there. And I'll have a look in the live stream, see if there's some questions there. There was a question earlier about where were the Universal Council chambers? Were they part of that building structure originally?
No, we are, as we explained before, we have been given gift of a land near to the sea, not on the seafront, more to the what we call central region, is been given to us by Italian group, which we collaborate now on the medical side with, and the whole Universal Council and the Earth Council building moves into that area. We were planning to bring it all under one roof, but with being given such a huge property on a different location, we can separate it. It's closer to the sea. That's where we want it to be. That structure building will start as well simultaneously with this one sometime in the next couple of weeks or couple of months. This way we keep the technology away from the administration. We release the pictures of the site very soon. On that site there are agreements to build some schools and some facility for the locals and a hospital. So there'll be some sort of integrated organization group inside. It's in a very nice part of the country, extremely nice. I've been there very recently.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Let me see, there's a couple of people that had their hands up here.
Hello.
Hello, yes.
Dominique, is that your name?
It's Dominique. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
May I ask a question about what we heard on Tuesday? Is it correct that I heard that we found GANS in the blood of the mouse? Is it correct?
A very, very minute amount.
And what I heard and what I understand that, of course, it's not GANS who go through the tissue in the blood, but I understand that this GANS was created in the blood. I am correct?
It's the way it's naturally done, yes.
Okay.
It was not injected, we did not inject anything to the animal.
So we can create GANS in our blood to cure everything in the body.
In a way, yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe, and
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you.
Any other question?
There's a question from Jonathan in the chat. Can we learn more about suggested dosage for adults?
The suggested dosage has to be, that's why we're trying to do a protocol to be correct. This has got to be done by scientists. But estimated was around 1 milligram. That's what the research people told us for 120 kilogram weight. It's a ratio of 1 to 12.3%, 1 to 12.23. It's a standard ratio used by them according to what we've been told.
There's a question, will the eye drops be developed soon? It says half of humanity has eye problems.
Yeah, we have a tooth problem, we have a heart problem, we have every other problem, and it's so many. So we have to see what it can be done and how it can be done.
So does the GANS material get more to the root of the problems of humanity rather than fixing individual, you know, symptoms, let's say?
Pardon?
Does the GANS treatment tend to get more toward the root of trouble for humanity, for humans, for their issues and problems? Like you mentioned several things there, that maybe the GANS could be good for all of those things rather than trying to treat individual symptoms like we do with pharmaceuticals and so on this planet.
just can you repeat that question? Because just
okay. Let me put it differently, maybe. Is it possible that the GANS materials could, or the action of the GANS, not the materials, but the plasmatic fields could get at the root of the problems that humans have for their health issues and whatnot, rather than just treating the symptoms? Most of our medical treatments are designed to treat symptoms rather than get at the root of the problem.
it should go. It should go to the root of the problem. It should go into the depth of understanding the problem. It should solve the problem from the beginning to the end, not halfway the way it's done at the present time. We are dealing in the totality of the package, not part of the package.
Okay, Krasmir has a question in the live stream. It's not associated quite, but maybe it's appropriate. Mr. Keshe, if the sun is the soul of the solar system and the planets are its physical manifestation, then what would be its emotions?
What will be what?
If the sun is the soul of the solar system and the planets are its physical manifestation, then what would be its emotions?
The emotions of it is the material between the span of the sun to the entity. What is what we call a point of transition from the start to the end, the points where there is a transition point. The emotion is like our brain, from what we know where the soul is to our emotional part of the what do you call it, part of the brain, where at the end the strength of the emotion converts into the level of the emotion of the physicality, where we call the point of the brain where they what you call position of the hands and the fingers, where in that point the whole thing converts into the arms and legs manifestation of physicality. This is I'm going to share a screen. Can you allow me to share a screen, please?
Okay, go ahead.
you have to see just 1 second. I have to ask a question. I'm on the line. It's important. Hey. Okay, you see, you have the 2 parts of the brain. You have the soul. You have the emotional part. Then, what is blocked or changed according to the emotion reaches the point of, let's say, the finger, where the operation of the finger is there. Why do I get this here, please? When I do this, I get this square here.
Maybe reselect the tool again there.
Yeah, okay, we are here. We don't reselect. You see here, the emotion as it comes from the brain transfers. I've got it again here. The emotion, the energy as it comes, passes the emotion, reaches the point where the fingers are. And there is no finger here. It's just energy motion. Let's say your finger touches something hot. And this goes back into there. The information is transferred for mechanical way through the neural system. For an emotion, and so as the physicality transfers, the understanding increases. We see that the physicality receives information partially on a physical neural system and partially in a different way. That the material goes back up by fields more than nerves. The interaction of the emotion dictates the movement of the finger, and then it's too slow physically. We feel it, we touch it. And we have to see what is the next step. We have to see how the next step is developed. When you have the same emotion goes to upper arm, somewhere here, from the finger, this has to coordinate with the other movement. The whole information transfer of the whole physical end of the brain in the interaction with the emotion shows retraction of the finger, or the hand, or the arm. These are important. These are very important because in these cases we see how the physicality has dictated the brain to manifest itself. We touched something very new today, and this question leads us to it. And that is goes back to very fundamental origin of all the teaching we've done regarding everything else. The soul of the man starts as a plasma. What is interesting, we have pictures here which brings back a lot of information. I have sent a batch of pictures to Rick. When we look at the picture of the amino acid itself, the first 4 pictures I sent you, Rick. Can you share those with us that we can see?
Okay.
I stop sharing, you can come in. These are the pictures made from the amino acid in a salt environment. Am I correct? The scientist who's done it sitting right in front of me. Can we see the next picture? Look at the shape.
Give me a minute here.
Look at the shape of this material. It's vitally important to understand this. We have different amino acids from zinc, different zincs, but all in the condition of the salt. If you look at this, just shrink these because I'm going to show you something. Minimize these very, very rapidly, please. This will bring you the knowledge of the creation, how man turns up to be as it is. Yeah, reduce the other one. There's 4 of them, if you can put next to each other. You see, these are very much a spherical shape. These are the parts which have not touched the physicality of the structure of the body of the planet. You see how these things will add up, and for the first time human race understands why we take this shape on this planet. Why do we have different parts of body in this planet? You need to make them much, much smaller, please. Put them 4 next to each other on the top, if you can. Next to each other on the top line, please.
Oh, okay.
So if you look at it, this looks like a plasma. This is a drop of amino acid. As we discussed, we will say that 90 drops makes 1 gram, roughly. So according to the scientific data with our code number that we know how many atoms are in 1 gram, the structure you see is made of millions of atoms, trillions of atoms. And this is important that we see the structure. This is important that we understand what is and how it is. If you are born or life starts with the gaseous part of it, this is the shape we will have. This is the shape of the body of the man. This is shape of our brain structure. This is as long as the amino acid has not interacted in gravitational magnetic field levels with the physical part, but in a salt solution. That is, no minerals, no other things added to it. I've sent you a picture with a copper oxide. You see it, CuO. Can you put this at the bottom of the page, please? If you look at the pictures which are going at the bottom, you will understand something very, very interesting. Do you have it, please, Rick?
Excuse me, where is that picture, Mr. Keshe?
I have sent you CuO pictures. CuO pictures.
Previously or in a different place?
Have you received 5 pages? How many pictures have you received?
4 pictures of these, as you show me here. And before that was just the picture of the new buildings.
I'm going to send you pictures which I want you to show. Okay. Just let me, I have to save it that I can send it to you. Okay, I'm going to send you the picture now. If you place these pictures one at a time, you will understand where we are going. What I want you to do is this picture. Yes. You got this picture now? If you can display it. Have you received 2 pictures?
Yes, let me just get that lined up. I'll get the first one lined up here. Okay, you can see that on the desktop there. I'll get the other one beside it, I guess. Is that okay to obscure the other 2, or do you want them shown?
Yeah, reduce this to the bottom, please.
Okay. And we have another one similar, put beside it. Okay.
Okay. What I want you to do, turn these pictures 90 degrees upwards. Just
the last them. 2?
Yes, please.
Okay. That way?
Yeah. And the other one?
Can turn that one another 180 degrees and make it look similar to the other one.
Turn that one 180 degrees, please.
Like that?
Yeah. And then I'm going to send you another picture. Then I think some of you have started seeing what I'm trying to explain. That is, you can see the materials which are in there, and very, very interesting. The interesting part about this is that if you look at the physicality, you see the amino acid. All the pictures you see are set in salt. So this is a condition when man came to point where life as an amino acid started. When it comes in touch, if you look at the copper, if you look at the zinc, if you look at the CO2, as the life has come in touch, amino acid, the physical part of the planet has dictated the change in the structure of the amino acid. Let me explain why and how. As we know, all our muscles are made of copper. This is a middle picture. Our emotional part is connected to zinc. Interaction of clarity of the information carrier is with CO2. Have a look at interesting point, which is this. Look at this line. I want to increase this. I cannot get. I'm losing what I'm looking for here. I want to option. I don't know. Okay. I have the option. I have done that. Okay, I'm here now. Got it. Have a look at this line. Have a look at these lines. Have a look at, there is no line with CO2. What does this mean? This means that when the amino acid, the brain part of the entity of the life, the emotional and the soul in the center of this dot, this is a two-dimensional. In the center of this dot, because it's an amino acid, there is a hole, there is a point of reference. We've seen this with your dynamic cores, where you have the physicality at the outside, GANSes, then the water, that empty space. The same thing applies to all these. But what is happening is now that the amino acid, the emotional physicality of the entity of the amino acid is created, in coming in touch with the physical part, which is the copper, which is the main part of the structure of our muscles and everything else. The division in two parts of this entity, if I can use a thicker line, you can see the division part of this entity, this side, and this side, has forced the division in the cell. And this is one of the reasons why we have a split brain. Is the matter state of the planet which has forced the two half sphere of the brain of the man. You see it with the amino acid too, of the zinc. You see with the line of CO2, that's why it works with everything, is total clarity and non-dimensional. So for the first time, man understands the creation of the two spheres, half of the brain of the man, is forced due to the copper, due to the physicality part. You have two halves, nearly the same. If you look at all the structures, you see a line. of division. This is when it turns in the right way. If you look at it, this becomes the half which fits into there. And this initiates the structure of the change of the body of the man to two half of the brain and the other half of physicality as we see it. So this is what I said in all the teaching. It's the environment and the material at the point of destination which dictates the physicality manifestation of the entity. Now you see it for the first time. Now you understand why we have two half spherical shape in our brain. Why we operate in two half with two legs and two arms and everything else. Is the content of the physicality which has dictated that. The matter content of the physical part of this planet has dictated this. That's why a fish, a cat, a dog, any animal which goes through the path of the hemoglobin in interaction with the iron will follow this path. We'll see this anytime. This is why out of nowhere you see some rain comes and the fish appears, has two brain and kidney and the rest of it. It's the automatic function of what is embedded in the structure of the amino acid. Go back to the teaching of the last week, where we spoke about the energy from the interaction of the sun and the earth, which led to the creation of the amino acid on this planet. Then the energy of the solar system with the galaxy, which brings its own energy condition. Then in the future, man will understand a very simple thing, that part of this amino acid information belongs to the universe, to the galaxy, and the rest of it. So in our amino acid, which is the creator of the structure of the backbone of the being on this planet, in conjunction with this physicality, for the first time we understand why any creature which needs to exist on this planet has to follow the same pattern. When you go to planet Zeus and the copper is not there, but there is another element, the shape of the physical part dictates the operation of the gaseous. For the first time, maybe man understands why we are in this condition and why we are 99% and whatever the same as each other. It's the copper primarily which decides this process, because our muscle tissues are made of it. It's the split in the copper that has forced the split to bring a balance in the hemoglobin of the brain of the man, in conjunction with the emotional part, with the amino acid, which dictates the two half operation. For you to go into the destiny of deep space, then you have to understand what is there, can you replicate it? And before you get there, it's just you're going to a ball party. You can't go to a ball with bikini. You know, you arrive in a ball, or a ball dance, you have to have certain clothing. You go and shop for it. So man, in a coming time, for the first time with these pictures, can see how it should look when he arrives at the point of destination, that it can survive the point of destination. This is important because any development, any progress, any shape or form of being in any point of the universe is dependent on what is available in that point. and how, as part of the atmospheric, the gaseous or metallic or liquid, man or entity responds to exist in that environment. Now we see how much little we know about our own creation. If you look at the shape on top of all these pictures, I'll put it with a black if you can see it. If you look at all these pictures here, if you look at here, if you look at here, if you notice, they all have a tip. They all follow the same shape. This is at the point of the soul of the matter state. This is where it comes to sit to be the heart. This, in reaction to what totality all the fields come up to it, dictates what it gives in interaction to the center. The center of the physicality, which is the heart of the man, fits into the center of the emotion, which is the soul of the man. That's why you physically feel the emotion, what you have inside you. These things are important. This is for the first time where we can analyze the totality about the truth about the creation, not only on this planet, but beyond. This is for the first time we understand why we look this way. Why we all have to have two fins or two wings and two arms or two whatever legs and two back ends or whatever. This is the condition that once we bring the atmospheric pressure, once we bring everything else in position, then we will see the total reality. That man, the shape of the creation, on the amino acid connected to the matter state of iron, has created hemoglobin, which the interaction between the two, the zinc and the copper, and because of the condition of the copper in the salt, has created the physicality of the brain of the man. So, in fact, we came as one plasma, as an amino acid. In the upper atmosphere of this planet, life exists. This amino acid is highly intellectual, can survive independent of bone or muscles, still have most probably more intelligence than when we gather bones and muscles. Man has two choices. He can detach himself from the physicality of the planet that releases its energy back into its original shape. This is the beauty when you understand the totality. As I said many times, when the time is right, the man of knowledge walk in. We just explained. So, for the first time we understand why we look, why we have a split in our structure of the brain and the body. And you have to understand you are looking at matter state, but you have to look the totality of the energy which these things create. This is important for us to understand, because in understanding we can clear a lot of ambiguities which are in the world of the science today. If you look, here is a point of energy release. or is the point of control, and we see the dead line, the real line between the two halves. The separation sits very clear. And this is why once the copper comes into operation, forces the split of the brain because of the field forces which creates. Remember how the field forces work. You split this shall split too. This is the beauty with this. This is understanding the science of creation beyond understanding of the present physical condition. And if you look, all these have the tendency to split. So what happens, if we can describe it in a more detail, let's say this creates with that, and this matches with this. And inevitably forces condition. When it comes to vegetation, which use magnesium, and the spread of the whole thing is slightly different, we see different shapes.
Mr. Keshe, would this be true on virtually all planets of the universe in terms of that duality, that splitting? Which
depends. Yeah. Yes.
But is it more dependent on the atmosphere or on the gravity
atmospheric
conditions?
Depends what's in the atmosphere, but you have to understand something very clear. Here, there is a fundamental point you have to understand before I go any further. Look at this here. Look at this here. This is a zinc oxide here. Is the pressure, gravitational magnetic field, the pressure of the two oxygens which bends the field? The copper itself is somewhere in this region. The field forces of oxygens are there. And because of this, if you look, they create this shape. These are field force matters. These are not matter state of matters.
So the oxygen is all important, of course, and most of the crust of this planet is of oxides, composed of oxides, and yes. So much of our body, water. And so much, all the gases water. And so on. Yes, the water. Yes, hydrogen oxide.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's why in your body, some huge percent of the H2O is dictator of the shape of the man. So for the first time we know why we are made the way we are made. Because the condition, whatever you bring to this planet to survive, has to carry that property. Then that property, because of its division, forces legs, forces having arms. And with it, it brings the control of two halves. And if you look at this material, most probably inside, you will see something like this too, which is the bottom of the brain. If you look at it, you will see the same thing somewhere here in the background internally. The two shape will match. One part, the physical part, one part, the emotional and amino acid. But connected through the field of the energy, which has found once feeding the other, what you call the blood of the man. If you look with the blood, you have the combination of the metallic part and the gaseous part. Both magnetic in their own condition, but in balance with each other, they are equal. And that creates the motion, the fluidity of the blood. This is very interesting if you understood this. Now take this step further. Let's go deeper in the knowledge of understanding of the vegetation. Let's understand, now that we see this, why those people who become vegetarian look to be calm and serene, where those who are meat eaters or a heavy consumer of the metals or elements of the metals, because when you consume flesh, you consume huge amount of copper, you consume huge amount of iron in blood. But in essence, you don't eat the whole animal. You eat part of pieces of it. When you are vegetarian, you use hundreds of different lentils, vegetation, or whatever. In fact, if you understand this, this explains going with all the teaching done in the past. All that we say zinc oxide brings balance of the emotion, satisfy the emotion. This explains why vegetarians tend to be calm, because they eat hundreds of seeds, they eat hundreds of bits of different animal, because each seed is one entity. So they consume huge amount of emotion from the plant. So the level rises. They are not short of the emotional part, but they might suffer from the physical part. Where in the process of people who are heavily meat eaters, there is not that much zinc given or emotional parts supplied by the food. So we see when you suffer, what happens? You crunch, you cringe, and this gives you aggressive face, aggressive behavior, because you are not receiving the emotional part which you are looking for. And this is what is the secret about what happens between the whole totality of understanding this. With the knowledge we have received here from class, with these pictures, he showed this to us a few months ago. And I said, I want to meet him again, because it was clear that for the first time, we could explain the condition of the creation of the man on this planet. We met again last week, and I said, I want these pictures, because now physically we can explain. And when you put these with the salt, if you change different salt from magnesium to whatever salts you have, you will see a slightly different pictures of these materials. And then it tells you, that dictates you exactly how the entity, why one tree looks different, or a slightly different combination of everything else allows you to be shorter, taller, and different colors. Because these entities are affected by what you call the whole structure. Now maybe for the first time man understands. It starts with this plasma, a single plasma. If you see it, a spherical, perfect in shape. When this spherical plasma comes in touch with the matter state, has to take the shape. Some of this energy depletes to the matter state. So in so many ways, for the first time, we know even why the man has brain, which is half. Because for the transfer of energy to the physicality, some has been compromised. Energy of the part has been given to the physicality. And that's why we see extension of the man being upright or animals being extended. Because we take part of the energy of, don't look at the physicality of the brain, look at the energy of the brain. Now you have added a piece here to be attached to another piece, which is here, the earth gravitational pull. Now it gets elongated. In that elongation, you use more energy to keep the physicality. And that ends up with the brain of the man, if you look at the side view. Is the pull of the earth gravitational field in presence of the loose matters we call our muscle tissues have extended part of the energy and use it to physicality. So maybe we have solved part of the mystery of the creation on this planet. And we see we did not come from nowhere. We have come, and the structure of the body of entities on this planet are totally dependent on how which materials interact. But in the vertical condition is different, but in the horizontal cases, as we see now, leads to the creation of arms and legs and the split brain. If you go back into most of the lentils, you see the same. It's always a split. Because materials which create that create the same kind of condition, but in a very profound way. But the balance in those things are not very much as bad as human being, because in the manifestation of the physicality, the zinc and copper and all the elements have a say in the shape. In the lentils is much more narrowed in the elements used. We need to understand this, that we can go to the next steps of creation. And we need the whole structure to be able to develop the whole understanding.
Would that enable us to easier adapt to conditions on other places of space?
In a way, if you look at the place of the soul of the man in the amino acid side and the soul of the man in the physical part, all we need to do is to move this up and down. But the point is, you'll understand very, very soon that the brain of the man, for a man of a space, is one of his biggest problems too. Because as long as you have the physicality of the brain and you do not reach the space of the emotion of the soul of the man, your physical part of your brain can be affected by the environment you arrive into. So this is why we tell you, and is taught, to become detached from the physicality, because the amino acid which fill the man can become the cause of the demise of the man.
Now, would that be, I get the impression somehow that in space, let's call it space, that there's more of a return to what we could call the singularity rather than the duality, the splitting. There's more of a return or more of a fusion required to exist in space, and to exist on the planet requires that duality, that splitting, in order to basically protect ourselves from the environment and the conditions and so on. Is that
in a way
somewhat?
Yes, in a way yes, but we will
Isn't
learn.
that split that makes it hard to be in space for us, that the fact that we are in this duality existence now?
Yes,
We have
but
to
when you go to
return
the
back?
soul, but when you go to the soul of the man, there is no duality in the soul.
Well, that's what I'm kind of getting to, I guess, is that we have
Yeah.
to head in
The
that direction
duality,
if we're going to head to space.
you were one of the very few people, very first at the beginning, made those transparent balls in the machine, and you showed how we have a hollow center. And then you showed the water, and then you showed the GANS. You remember back a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The physicality is the ganses, the water is the what they call the transition or the emotion, and that hole in the middle can exist without anything else, is the soul of the system. You could actually, if you could interact with that entity or the transition, you could have changed the physicality of the matter in the boundary. A lot has to do with how and the way we look and what we do. We have to understand and look at the field matter and not as a physical matter. We have to look at the soul, which is the essence without state of matter. Then you can make the matter, and then you can make the emotion or the transition at any point you like, at any strength. For man to become close to his soul, then becomes his transparent. Then you don't have the emotional part, you don't need the brain, and you don't have the physical part, which is the physicality of the brain. And then in interaction with the physicality of the matter of the planet, the physicality of the man. So with a very simple picture, for the first time, we understand how we are created out of the interaction of the elements of this atmosphere of the ball, what we call the earth. And as the atmosphere changes, according to the mixture and the strength of the availability of the gases, the physicality of the man will change too.
That appears to be an answer to a question in the chat here from Mendel, who says, what happens when a light being travels to a different place in the universe? Do they also transfer in manifestation?
No, the entity is the same. It's the manifestation of the physicality point of observation which changes. It's very much, you have the water, you put it over the heat, it boils, you put it in the freezer, it freezes. You keep it at normal temperature, it's still water. The soul of the man stays to be water, but manifests itself in different conditions according to the environment it's created for it. Or it decides itself to manifest itself for it.
In that regard, I read an interesting fact today that I hadn't heard before, which is that in the human body, regards to water, that there's 5 milliliters or 5 grams of deuterium water in everyone's body, and about 1 gram of actual deuterium hydrogen atoms in our bodies. I thought, whoa, that's interesting. Which also indicates there's tritium as well involved in everyone's body water, because a certain amount will also be tritium. But I'm wondering, how does the deuterium interact in this scenario that you've laid out here?
That is just energy. Deuterium and the others are only energy, packages of energy.
Okay, well, they also said in this article that if someone drinks too much deuterium water, like deuterium's not radioactive or anything, but if you have more than 50% of deuterium water in your body, then it could actually kill you, or it can kill a plant too, actually.
Yeah,
but
we
small
already,
amounts are good, I guess. Is that the idea?
I presume so. It depends on the balance of energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that when you give too much energy to something, it has to find a balance itself.
And how would the tritium work in our body water systems?
Tritium, we carry tritium in a way, all our body, all our work. The essence of the creation is tritium in the GANS state of the plasma. When you call it tritium, which is what I call in an atomic way, if you look at it, you create a condition of extra package of energy which has to give its energy out somewhere. It's dynamic. And that is the reason why that extra energy in the matter state on this planet can manifest itself as a gamma ray or any other kind of X-ray or whatever, which we have not managed to observe most of it. Tritiums produce huge amount of cosmic rays. Huge amount of cosmic, which it's very much on the balance interaction with the environment decides what it's going to be. If it's going to be energy, at what level, if it's going to be a ray, it's going to be alpha particle and everything else. It's us who has to understand more of our own structure.
There's talk recently that our structures are increasing in vibration, that the Schumann Earth frequency is increasing in its vibration level, especially recently, and so on. Is it possible that the increase, if there is an increase, that could interact with these hydrogens, and we can learn to take advantage of the deuterium, tritium relationship in our body?
I think if you go that way, we are exchanging one problem with another. Mm-hmm. What we are trying not to exchange is physicality. We're trying to understand the operation of central energy of the whole body of the man. We call it the soul of the man. If we take our eyes off the moon, Earth, Saturn, or whatever, which are minute parts, if you look at the structure, most of the energy, all the energy comes from the center, even though some energy comes from the environment into the plasma of the solar system. The shape, the size of every star in a galaxy is dictated by the magnetic field pressures within the environment of that galaxy. That's why not every 2 stars is the same. That's why we don't see moons in some solar systems, because of their position within the galaxy. The smaller the size of the magnetosphere of the solar system is, the less possibility of the fields slowing down enough to create entities like moon. Moons and satellites, what we see as Earth or planetary system, usually are seen in the environment where there is enough large diameter of the span of the plasma of the solar system that the energies can reduce to become matter. This is the same thing as the body of the man. We reduce enough the energy of the center of the soul, you call it, that it can reduce so rapidly that leads to the manifestation of the physicality. And then that physicality, being a bone or whatever, is dictated by what the environment wish and what is process itself to have to be a bone in that position. And that condition dictates that all of us as beings have the same joints, the same fingers, the same arm, the same, because this environment of this planet dictates motion by division of the parts, which is upper arm, lower arm, fingers, and the rest. If the physicality of the amino acid was much, much smaller, the man would not have been the way it is, or the creation on this planet would not have been what it is.
Well, that leads to Christine's question, which is, how can we know which transition to make on an outer part in the universe, another planet? In the knowledge that we didn't know it for the Earth, how will we know it on Zeus?
I said many times in the teachings, especially in the early teachings, we lose many of us in the space because we do not understand the environment of the space, what we are walking into.
Isn't part of it like when we came to Earth, we may not have a conscious memory of that decision, but somehow our habits...
Who brought you to Earth? You didn't come to Earth, you got made of the Earth materials. Unless you're an alien.
But well, where did the Earth materials come from? Everything on Earth has been through a sun at one point. Yeah, it's been through a star already.
Yeah,
so it actually everything comes from stars, you might say. So we come from stars. And what about the amino acid? Did the amino acid actually come from Earth, or did it travel through space to get here?
The amino acid of this planet comes out of the interaction of this planet fields with its atmospheric part of the plasma of the solar system.
What about other amino acids that may be traveling through the universe that could land here?
If they come to a condition of interaction of a given area, you most probably have 6 arms and 20 legs. The same as
maybe that's where octopuses came from.
Actually, yeah, there was something about that maybe octopus had a very strange DNA, and they may have been from outer space. Actually,
yeah, but look at the DNA. Look at the DNA of octopus. Look at the DNA of the human being. See how is it structured. What's the sequence of the gaps between different elements of the protein? That's all it is. You are looking at the big magnets, big plasmas, but the universe, the life of the man and creation is from very tiny plasmas, which you call them atoms or whatever. When you look at these shapes, they are made from millions, which means the field forces of the environment has dictated the position.
Well, like James asks, is the amino acid the void, the voidness, and does it act as a seed for the physicality of the man?
Of course.
But even before the amino acid is...
there is no life on this planet if there is no amino acid. But as a human, as a being race of 4-legged or whatever, the fish or whatever, is the interaction of the amino acid with the metal or material part, which dictates you become a vegetation or you become a living entity. And this is why even the plants have intelligence, and we never understood, because it's more or less made of the same process.
So the amino acid is not the alive part, it's more the information that interacts with the environment.
But it's a live. No, it's a live part. It's a live part of the gaseous part. But in connecting with the matter side in the salt condition is the physicality of the strength of the copper. You got to look at something. Copper is 60, 62. Amino acid is 43. Copper sits at the bottom lower, so it pulls. That's why we get elongated, we move away from the brain.
And doesn't it also create the 3D structure, the actual tetrahedral and so on, especially the oxides?
Yep, that's what it does. That oxides, that oxidization, that you call it oxide in chemistry, but in the plasma technology, we see it as a field which has to close itself with two balanced ends. And it brings itself to bend, and you get the shapes you see in the presence of the salt. And that gives us the shape we are.
And that you mentioned, was that the oxygen that creates it, or is a big part of that?
It's a big
process?
part of it, it's the oxygen, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Question from William, Mr. Keshe. When our soul goes to another environment, will our new bodies grow like crystals, or will it gel into form in a way?
Depends what that environment dictates. If you see the picture of what that environment has, surely when you land there, you'll be one, if you wish to, because that's a condition of the change. You have to understand the environment you enter creates the filter for the brain, which takes the amount of energy from the soul that it dictates the manifestation. At the moment, if you put a water in a freezer and you put it in a cube, if it's a heart shape, it becomes a heart shape. If you have a banana shape, it becomes a banana shape, because you have dictated the shape. In the open expanse of the universe, that shape of banana is dictated by gravitational magnetic field of the destination point. You will look like a banana. It doesn't matter how you want to. You're still a water, but you'll look banana. And the other place, when I defrost you and put you in another cup, you'll be strawberry shape. But this time is the soul of the man who decides according to what, at the end of interaction with the environment, allows the fields to be. A traffic jam, to slow down, dictates the strength or the width of the emotional part. And then the more freedom dictates the fingers, the arms, and the rest.
Does that become a surprise to the soul sometimes?
Oh, yes.
Like,
many times when you change. Many times when you change. I explained this in one of the teachings, especially in the Rome conference. When you reach the point of maturity of understanding the physicality, and the knowledge of the physicality you carry needs a higher level of the soul, because your physicality, I've seen with the copper, it still has an intelligence of its own. When it comes to the point that you don't see the intelligence of the physicality matches the emotional intelligence, you can change the intelligence. You can ask, you can download, you can lock into another entity, which is a higher, powerful field strength, which that elevates your soul. Now, when you bring this to this chap doesn't see it because he was used to this. Now, the physicality has to adapt in the shape of the soul which is taken. This is the elevation of the soul of the Prophet of God, the enlightenment. Those who do not break the rules will stay with it. Those who break the rules detach and become part of the physicality. That's why we see so many manifestations of God. Is not that they for a time being, they reach the elevation of the soul. To understand the totality, where the physicality, the soul of the physicality has not, or has reached a point realizing the soul of the emotional part is lacking something. What do you do when you lack? You look for another piece that you are not hungry. The exchange of the soul of the man to a high level, it will become very normal to the man who understands and point elevation of the understanding of their own soul. Transparency without detachment. I explained this when it happened to me the first time. You know, because you understand the knowledge of the physicality has to be more. And when you receive the new soul, it has a different power. It has a different strength, higher than you are. Your hands and your fingers, your walking is all strange because now the two have to match. For a few days, it creates a mayhem in the body of the man. In the coming time, some of you will reach that point. Those who worked total enlightenment reach the point that they understand the physicality. The emotion of the physicality is much more than the emotion of the soul of the man. And then, if the intention is pure and you want it, you to elevate yourself, that means receiving a higher order strength, and is in condition that nothing around you changes, that you harm no one, that elevation comes. It's you and only you who sees the field change, the strength. It's like putting a 4-liter engine in a 3-liter engine, which was before. There is more power. Now you have to adjust the valve and everything else, which is the physicality of the man. I've been through this process twice. We carry the body of the man, but the soul comes from a different destination of the higher order. Then you try to match. This is why a lot of you ask me, where does the knowledge come from? Knowledge comes with the soul we receive. Physicality is the same, it's a container. It's like you had a water, now you have a juice. Water had not much.
Speaking of which, we're leading into another question here very well, which is Andrea asks, Rick, I'd like to ask how alcohol, which is beer, wine, and strong drinks, is affecting the plasma and emotional energy of the body, as this is one of the most consumed matter states after meat and plants for many people.
It's the energy, that's the sugar, they say surplus hydrogen. It's so much hydrogen, now you create a separation in the physical part, which affects the energy of the emotion. You have more fields available. What is alcohol? It's a sugar, which is CH bond. It connects to the physicality as you see with the CO2, but now has a lot of energy floating in it. It creates the separation between the physicality, the soul of the physicality, and so the emotion of the physicality from the emotion of the soul. And then it goes out of control. If you look at the light of the man, we'll see totally different things.
Can I ask?
Excuse me, did you say that? Could you say that last part again, Mr. Keshe? When you see the light or life of the man?
The light of the man.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Caroline.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Would you like to say who you are, please?
I'm the wife of Mr. Keshe.
What a fortunate soul.
Caroline. In your previous pictures, if you go back to the before, I kept them, maybe Rick kept them as well. You made the infinity loop between the top and the bottom. And you made a very tiny infinity loop between the two on the right side of the picture. In the past, you explained something about that's where your connection is sitting. Can you go more in depth to this connection, please?
Explain yourself that I can explain. I don't know what you're talking about.
In a previous explanation, I don't record where it happened, but I remember the information. You said the connection point between the soul and the body to be able to make the right connection is on the height of the throat.
Yes.
And if I look at the pictures, you made the same infinity loop there again. And on the right side of the picture, you made it vertical and you made it horizontal.
Mm-hmm.
I would like you to explain what is the point of the throat with this infinity loop connection?
The throat is just a connection between the soul and the soul of the physicality. Don't forget, these are the center of the energy points. And the cross section between the emotion and physical part of the body emotion always has a cross line. The neck, if you look at the neck of a person, you can more or less say about the emotional condition of the man, about his behavior. Because the energy packs are too close to each other. So when you have a close energy packs, you will see it creates a lot of mischief, or it creates a different behavior. Everything about the shape of the man, the position of the heart of the man to the position of the soul of the man dictates how the man will behave in his structure. The shape of the finger, the shape of the hand, the shape of the face. If you become an expert in it, you don't need to talk. You know what you got in your hand. You know this very well. Many times you tell me, I wish I don't want to walk with you, because you don't need to do anything. You know what the man is made of, or what he or she looks like or be. Because when you become man of science of the universe, you understand that everything has a proportion, and why and how it is in respect to the soul. Why people of the certain shape and figures behave the same. Why people of certain color behave the same. Because the field transfer dictates that between the soul of the physicality and the soul of what do you call it, the amino acid part, which is more powerful because it's more dynamic. In the physical part, is too tangled up because of the heavy elements. In the amino acid part, the atmospheric part is much freer. If you look and understand the balance in the fields, you understand the totality of it.
I asked you this question for people to learn how to achieve the correct balance with this kind of position. But if nobody knew before where to look for the correct connection and where the connection
You see, Kalinja, you see, when we are grieving or when we are under pressure, we crunch and we go inside. We bring the strength of our emotional soul and the physicality soul closer, that they can feed each other. It's a point of security, sharing the maximum without losing more. We take shapes, we take condition. Everything we do is respect to the motion of the physicality and the emotion of the amino acid, the gaseous part. Even though itself has some elements of physicality to it. If you look with all the pictures which is on the table, for the first time we see why. If for example, Rick, if you take the left-hand picture and bring it to the middle on top of the CO2 and tilt it slightly that the lines sit across. Don't turn it 180 degrees, you got to turn it about 90. Just bring it in and tilt it by about 90 degrees. It will go in line with the position of the copper. And then you see, these are the things which we know. We need to create many, many pictures of this, that then we understand how our physicality is dictated by the environment we live in. Any other question?
It's for people to understand how they can make it in an understandable way how to deal with these emotions. And as you already went into the first one, when you're sad, you crunch. When you're happy, you uprise. So to what kind of emotions can they hold on to balance these fields to be able to function optimal? Because if that is where the connection sits, they need to understand how to work with it.
The optimum comes when you can release the emotion of the physicality or the soul of the physicality into the soul of the emotion of the gaseous part, or what we call the brain of the man. Then you become one.
Now, can you guide us how to do that?
Transparency to yourself and nobody else. When I tell you I love you, it's not a word. Many times, how many times a day I tell you I love you as my wife? You tell me. How many times you heard I love you yesterday?
A lot.
How many?
I don't count them.
Roughly.
I don't put a figure on it because you use
20,
it frequently.
30, 40, 50 times?
You use it very frequently.
Because I love you. Because it means I give you part of my emotion, part of my being. It's not a word, it's the energy which carries. It's in the writing of Baha'u'llah, bless his name. It says, I made you to make children that they may mention my name.
Which is the expression, I love you.
Yeah.
But aren't you, if you're creating the being which is in front of you to confirm your own existence by saying, I love you, then the feedback comes, I love you too.
But it never comes back, does it? So what is interesting is how we transfer our emotion and how we transfer it internally with ourselves. How do we see one emotion in respect to the other? How do we see the operation of the emotion from the physical part? Because don't forget, just look at the copper side. What we see is millions of atoms, and according to the writing of the prophets, even the stone has a soul. Now you have a dynamic entity which has its own soul. There above you have the soul of the gaseous. There below you have the soul of the earth, the physical part. The amalgamation of the two leads to the creation of the soul of the man in totality. Where, due to the more dynamic part of it, most of it sits in the brain of the man. When the physical part goes, in many teachings I say, when you extract and add the physical part into the emotional part of the gaseous part, then you get a full sphere. The reason I brought this up, these pictures, it shows man would be a plasma if it stays amino acid. With a full intelligence. Most probably these amino acids which you see here in salt and dried up have more intelligence than when we put the copper to it and the physicality with it. It is the totality. It is what we do with ourselves in understanding of the totality. This is what we need to do to understand. If we had no interaction with the physical part of this, if you go into an environment which is a huge atmosphere, huge ball of fields, but it has no matter state with it, you will stay in that shape on the top because you have never conversion to interact with the physical part. If we go into the planet condition which is totally liquid, you don't need the other part. So you take a different shape.
But if we stay in the matter state as we are now,
we are always in the matter state.
There are a lot of people which never express and say, you know, to other people, I love you. But their expression is through their physicality of caring and nurturing and feeding and in all
that's a mother instinct. That's a mother instinct.
No. You have a lot of excuse me. Don't interrupt. There are a lot of men who have really hard times to express towards their women or children that they really carry the feeling of love and the expression of love. It is held within because they've never been taught how to express themselves. But they show it through a different way of caring, like putting food on the table, going out to work, bring home a lot of different gifts. That works in the same way without getting expressed. Why does love need to be worded if people carry it within their heart?
If you go back to the Rome conference when people were clapping, I explained the wastage of energy. Why do we clap? We can just, what do? We get emotional. That emotion comes from the soul energy. We bring it down and then we use the physicality to make some noise. We actually lose 80% of the energy which brain or the soul sent to be given to somebody to say thank you. Why don't we say just thank you through our soul without the clapping? We get up and go. Because it's man is physical and he sees his way in different ways to show his interaction with his environment. A lot of men are too shy to say they love their children because they see it as a weakness. A man has to be solid and don't show. What we always say, 90% of the men who die of prostate cancer, they don't go to see a doctor even though it says drip drip, till they see the blood. The blood put the panic into them. Doesn't matter if you, due to prostate cancer, you don't see till something happens, then they do something with it. Because men are not supposed to show their emotion. Where if you're close to your soul, you show your emotion because emotion is part of the soul without the interference of the physicality. The expression of the love comes from the soul, not from the physicality.
Yeah, but if you express it by saying I love you, you also use the physicality to speak. That's also
emotion. But you don't know how much more I tell you when you don't hear it. It carries on during the night too, but you're asleep. When a mother sees a child, adores a child, and he says, I love you in her eyes, doesn't need the time. Most probably that does more energy to the child than me saying I love you because I wasted half of the energy, like the clapping.
That was my point.
So, stop wasting my energy.
You're wasting the energy.
Okay, now we're going to have the wasting energy blame game here.
Okay, now, any other question? I'm going to leave it to Caroline to teach. She's there now. And if she wants to carry on, we give her 10 or 15 minutes. If you are ladies on the panel and you want to bring the inside of the woman as a soul of the woman, please come in. You have the same right as Caroline or any other woman. But don't get too sentimental because us men are very short-tempered with that.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Men are. They're just such sensitive souls, aren't they? Good morning.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
There we are. All the women are coming in. Us men, we better march off for a cup of coffee. We'll leave it.
No. You have to stay put for one thing.
Yeah, I have a question.
Who's that?
This is Sandy, and I have a question regarding what you were just speaking of, regarding how the body is going to change when it gets in different environments. And my question is when the body goes through this change, will the change come on as more of like a crystal growing, or more like something that will gel into the form? I mean, how will the time process go for the body to change into the new evolutional style?
It depends on the essence of survival. How desperate are you to become part of that society, that community, that environment? We see many people who are, blonde, and they go into environment of, let's say, another culture, they're all black. They even color their hair black, that they are part of it. How desperate are we? If we sit with a bunch of drug addicts, then you stay non-drug addict, just become part of them, you become addict too. How much are we, or we see our survival? Why, when we marry another man or a woman, we change into the culture to fit in? It's the same in the environment of the space. How desperate are we? Why do we learn the language of our wives or husbands and the food they eat?
So you're saying the manifestation that comes through from the change in atmosphere is something that is going to be dictated in its structure by a process that has no relationship to time? I mean, here's my question. You're saying that copper and zinc, and you're showing us these pictures and how the field interacts. And to me, it really looks very crystalline-like. And but when I look at the pictures of the amino acid up above, it looks very much gel-like. And so I'm thinking, when we go into these new environments and our amino acid now has to change its form because of the environment, is the form going to come out, or are amino acids going to change like ice or a crystalline structure?
Depends that ice, what the environment will be. This is with the salt. What about we change the salt to a different salt? How would the same drop will look? What about if we put this drop into a water, we dilute it, we take the salt out? Is that possible to be done? And change the salt to a magnesium salt and see what's the shape. The man who's done this picture is sitting right in front of me, so we can ask questions. So maybe in the next couple of weeks he can wash the same drop. Is the drop still there? The amino acids in the lab. So if you wash it and take it out, instead of using the NaCl, this is magnesium, change it to NaCl and see how the change will come. This is, if it's magnesium, this is the amino acid of the vegetation. Yeah. Can we see what happens with another acid, salt? How would it change? It's the same, because you got to wash it and put it back in. I don't know if you can get the whole genie back in the bottle again. Any other question? Actually, no question. I'm going away. I'll leave it to the women for a while.
Okay.
Let them teach us the state of the soul of whatever it is to be done.
No problem.
Just don't take over. We're coming back. It's just temporarily. We're taking a break.
Yeah, you give.
No, we
Very
don't
gentle.
give. It's your turn. It's your turn. We just sit back and watch. You got Sandy with you. I can give you another Caroline. She's up here. Do you want to join in? We give the platform to the women. Men, we talk for 3 years. We give you a little bit more. Carry on. You enlighten us. You teach us about the soul of the man. And by the way, before I go any further, as you know, we have the teaching system of weekly from 9:10 till 1 and 2 to 5. And it's been very much concentrated on GANS and nanomaterials and everything else, and it's becoming very boring for those who came to learn more, but they see different angles of it. The foundation is setting up what we call teaching administration group, which means instead of just being Jackie, now we have a team which will run the education, which means people from the medical side will be in, people from agriculture will be in, people from the representative from the students to see what they want to hear more, what they want to learn more. Group, somebody from like John or Arman from the spaceship will become teachers. So we change the pattern of teaching as it is now from next term or so to a full spectrum of teachings of everything. If you are interested, one part will be agriculture, one will be programmed that way. You don't come into the agriculture teaching, but people like Jim from Australia will be becoming part of this group. He'll be part of this new teaching group, will bring new light into the whole knowledge. Scientists who come and teach the other versions of according to what they see from their side. We are opening the span of technology and understanding of it to cover the whole spectrum of the knowledge. So those who are students, you'll have an exciting time because you never know what is next on the table. If you get a bunch of, what do you call it, doctors, you learn a lot in that session. But the sessions we are considering, because of the due to, we fixed everything to Italian time, 9 to 5. We are looking at spreading the teaching to like 2-hour sessions, but in the same day in 3 different continents, that different people can come in. You don't need to stay at night whole night. These are the developments which Her Excellency Lisa wanted from the Earth Council to bring new dimension in. We've listened to her and Jim, her husband, last week. She didn't get a chance to go through a whole lot of it, but to implement the first part of it, we see this needs to be done. So you hear a lot from women who bring the soul of the home or science of the soul of the woman into the whole structure of the physicality of the teachings. We need to do this, otherwise we become very much lump-sided. Now that we're expanding in more depth, we bring more knowledge, which is gained by, as Caroline said, and many of our women said, we don't change position. We just add to the knowledge. All of us. It might be boring for some of the men to listen what the soul, what you have, how you have to teach the soul of the child to be, or yourself, or whatever. But in essence, as is in the writing of Baha'u'llah, he says, when you have two children, one boy and one girl, in most of the cultures we feed the nourish the boy that he will bring money in. But according to the writing of Baha'u'llah, bless his name, he says you nourish the girl, because she's the mother who brings the next generation. So as we understand more, the mothers are the backbone of the growth of the man. If you have an educated mother, it brings up an educated child. If you have a mother who is not educated, you'll see if the children suffer in a different way. It doesn't mean necessarily PhDs and the rest, but the knowledge educated in life of the man. So we have to understand this is not that we change. As we are expanding, we have to open our horizons in the whole totality of understanding of the being. Because, as I always said in many of the teachings, one of the biggest problems in the present education system is nobody teaches the children. They teach them cookery. They teach them God knows what. But they don't teach them how to be a father. They don't teach them how to be emotionally a father, how you get more out of your child in emotionally interacting, how to be a mother and interaction of the emotion of the mother. This is why most probably most of the relationship fails, because we are not told how to be parents. We are told how to cook, but we haven't told the cooking of the universal energy of the existence of the humanity. So we need to bring it as part of the balanced technology of understanding totality. We have to bring how it is. A lot of men are emotional, but they've been told, don't show your emotion because then you are weak. My God. I'll be weak at any time. But you have to understand, we need to bring every aspect of the technology in, because the last man standing has to carry the total integrity of the emotion of the man, that he knows what he wants, and if he's alone, would he like to create an Eve, and then he starts his own headaches again. So we give the floor to the women, we give the floor to the what we call the soul seekers, because they're always, women are more interested in the soul than anything else, and through it we learn more. Would you like to take over?
Mr. Keshe, please, I have a quick question because I don't have time to ask.
Who's that one? Can you introduce?
Yes, it's me, Jalal from Iraq.
Yes.
How come Earth has satellite like Moon? Is it due to the emotion or to the physicality?
It's just through the motion, the field he has created. In the book number 4, I think there is a part I explain how moons are created. Moons are created the same as the sun. The interaction of the planet, the interaction of the physical energy of the entity in more or less what you look at, what rubs the two fields together of the earth and the sun, gives you some of the material as we call the amino acid and the dust of the others. Part of these, when are produced in a certain condition, they move outwards. And then the collection of them, the same as the way sun created the earth in interaction and the condition of life here, in interaction with the energy elements of the within the structure of the solar system. Now Earth being here or any other planet has an interaction with the structure of the sun magnetic field. So it creates residual. The way if you go back to the teaching last week, we said, or the week before, we said when we were talking with Peter, even in Rome conference, the interaction of the fields of the Earth and the sun does not create only the amino acid, it creates gold, it creates everything else which is on this planet, which showers down. Some of these materials at a given point in a given structure do not get absorbed internally towards the earth. So in that process, we convert the energy of the sun into matters which collectively become cosmic dust, some of it, and the ones who can collect according to the field strength and the position of the planet create their moons. That's why when we look at the moon, says, oh, it's got materials like Earth, because it created out of the interaction of the field of the Earth with the sun. Those who come down will make the surface of the planet, as we spoke last week, we get dust over.
So which one is come first, Earth or Moon?
Moon is created out of the interaction of the Earth with the sun. Is the residual of the fields of the matters converted, and in a given position, you'll find out in the future when the man becomes more educated, why so many like Saturn and the others have so many different moons, because the field interaction, especially in the outer layers, very, very outer layers, creates a spectrum of the energies, which each one leads to be collected in one place. You see such a moon of such a planet is made of only hydrogen, or only made of zinc, or has this and that in it. Why? Because the condition of the interaction created a gravitational magnetic field of that element to be collected in that position. It's very simple. Man has made it too complicated. The moons, as they said, is not as a meteorite hit the earth and then piece of it became the moon. This is as much true as you were made out of box of chocolate.
So we are changing the history now.
We don't change the history, we understand more about the facts, as we did this morning. The fallacies are written because it's suited. Because nobody understood. Now we understand more, we can explain more. The creation of the moons is nothing but the same interaction. Look at it this way. Go outside and take a cut at the surface of a land. Go down 10, 20 meters deep. You see layers and layers of different color and different material. Nobody brought these in. As the Earth crossed certain fields, it absorbed the matter state of that fields, and it extracted and it absorbed and became layer of the matter on the surface. Not all of it comes this way. Out of this interaction, some travels out because the field force of the atmosphere of the plasma of the solar system has a bigger pull. But they can go to a certain distance and then they amalgamate. These dust start gathering, they become the moon of the star. If they're all of the same strength, they stay in certain positions. The book number 4, I explained this in a very detail. So the moons are not accidental. The moons are, instead of coming to us to increase the layers of the planet, these are the ones which the magnetic field strength of the Earth could not pull. And they become a cosmic dust. They become part of the dust of the solar system. And if enough of them gather together due certain conditions, they roll up. Connection of the magnetic field leads to the establishment of the planet. If you look at the true shape of the planetary system, things like moons, you will see why they are so dusty, why they are so different than what we know. Because he explains they can solidify to solid rocks depending on what and how they came together. We're becoming more educated in knowledge of the creation, so we know that the Earth wasn't made as it was said, and how things shall be.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Sorry, Caroline, to interrupt you.
Don't worry, it was a very nice point you raised, because we have to understand. We don't unravel the mysteries, we understand more that the mysteries get unraveled by themselves. That's what I said. We don't teach, we inspire. And when you're inspired, you see the totality.
It was a very nice question, sir. Don't worry.
Okay, I'm taking time off. The ladies can take over. We go for a cup of tea. No, we got to be here to make sure we learn.
That's nice.
Thank you very much. Would you like to join them, Caroline? We have Caroline and a member of the Universal Council with us. And you will hear more from the women, and we'll see more women are becoming technically involved in the use of the matters. I had the pleasure to be in the house very recently, and I was puzzled the amount that the women knew about the GANSes and everything else. And it's interesting that when they see they can use the GANS and takes the pain away from the child, they become better than the husband, because now they got hold of it. You want to get your wife into technology to understand, make some GANSes and keep them as a pen. When she says, I have a toothache, just give it to her. The pain is gone. She has a burn in the kitchen, just rub it on. And then she says, you want it next time, you make it yourself. Then the job is done. Thank you very much. We take a back seat.
Because the mothers will learn and go through this knowledge, especially the GANSes, the first stage of this knowledge, because they are attracted to support and to heal and to take pain away, to remove pains from their little ones. And I've asked several times a lot of mamas to start writing down and start making notes for what kind of different applications they can use the GANSes as they see the results. But in fact, I'm trying to guide the mamas and the fathers, because in these more modern times, there are a lot of fathers which start taking up the responsibilities to stay home and to bring the children up full-time or partially. So these are the new, nourishing, different kind of energies which are coming up. Your microphone is open, I think. The thing is that what I have noticed from day one, when Mr. Keshe started coming out with the knowledge, was that everybody is attracted to remove any kind of pain, suffering, because it hinders you to function normally. So even if you can remove a blister or a burn spot or a aching or a muscle pain or a arthritis, you name it, or a headache, you feel much lighter. You can, and you interact totally different with anybody who's around you. That's why I said the mothers will have a big impact, even if it's only going to the first stages of learning how to apply the GANSs. But give the feedback to the other mothers. I even have understood that mothers which have given it to their children and they have explained it, funny enough, the children are taking it to the school or to the sport fields to be able to help when other children are getting harmed in their games or their football play or they fell down. They are happy and proud that they can give them some assistance to release the pain. And this is like a fire. It just goes. That's why the mamas are so important. But the GANSs are not the important point I want to get across. It's for you to make the first step back into your confidence and to your knowledge. As I taught in my first public teaching, you already possess this power. It's just a confirmation, as Mr. Keshe said, we have to get you to the intent. And the intent is the wish which gets connected to make you to feel better. But you can transmit, as he just explained, I love you. And I even carry on sending it overnight when you're asleep. When we look at our children and we see, we adore them. We notice the positive, the things which really gives us pleasure. You put your child immediately in a different energy field. This is the confidence I want to bring back to a lot of you, not only women, but also the men which carry this already inside them, not to be scared to identify it, that it is there. So with the GANSs, you make the first intent, because if the intent is right, they get a feedback of appreciation. But it's also a feedback of, I exist, you exist. This is exactly what Mr. Keshe said. I created you in the image of myself for you to say, I love you. That's why I said also, it doesn't need to be expressed in the words like, I love you, but by just the intent of going to this little wound on the knee or the hand, with that, just that release, you know you can release the pain. Your intent is already traveling with the GANS water. Now, can you imagine if you can just go with this right intent and just touch the knee and you create the same release? That's where you get your confirmation of your intent. That's where all these wishes are coming from. But if they go in the right way, they create. I would have loved Mr. Keshe to ask him to give more explanation in the fact that we are creators. But to go back to the point of that we are aware that we create, it doesn't need to come only through the women, but also from the man, that you are a creator. And how do you create and what fields? I can explain it through the female side because of my emotions, my ability to sense, but men carry the same sense. It's just hidden. That's why I ask the mothers to come more and more, and most probably I will repeat this quite a few times. The children don't need to be brought in and dragged in, but make them to be around you when you have these kind of conversations. When you're working with the GANSs, when you talk about the GANSs, when you talk about the technology, because they absorb, they're multifunctional. as I remember, and I see it again in our youngest one, he can play computer, he can watch the television, and he knows exactly what everybody is saying. It's amazing. It's more than 3D. He plays his game. He knows what is going on the television in his cartoon. And at the same point, he listens to every single word that is being said. And he can tell you the story from each one in each level. So our children have progressed most probably one step higher than us. Maybe because we have unlocked it through the different ways they can interact with computers, television. It's a new way of development, which we as children never had access to it. So if they are in the neighborhood, they pick up. So you can imagine if your intent is the right way, they pick it up too. If you balance your partners, your children balance with you, because it's the same energy field which keeps on swirling around the people which are interacting 24/24. But if the child goes calm out of the house with a confidence, he passes it on to where he goes to as well, to his friends, to the school, classmates. That's where they say when you have a cheeky one, gets attracted to a cheeky one, because the energy fields balances much easier. When you have a naughty one, it goes to a naughty one. You have a very quiet child, goes more to a quiet environment. That's most probably why partners try to find the opposite to stimulate the energy to create more, to create different. But from that creation, I would love to have more explanation about Mr. Keshe, from Mr. Keshe. Because we have an amount of information we have to digest, and it's a lot. It's not easy for everybody to find the path. What is the best path? We've done yoga, we've done gymnastics, we go running, we go biking. Each one of us try in his own individual way to balance his own energy with what he feels happy with. But I want to make sure you understand, you carry already everything. It's just trying to find the right door to open it, that it gives you the light and the direction to create more. And if you try to test it, I would love to have your feedbacks. And I know Sandy wants to go in the soul level. I always ask Mr. Keshe, please write your first book, The Soul, because this is something we all vibrate with. We want to know more. We want to understand more who we are and what energies we are carrying. And I think that book is time for it to be opened up. Maybe the next teaching, that might be a very beautiful subject for Mr. Keshe to teach us. The soul and its different levels, and how we can create more to be more, but not in a difficult way, but in the human form, that we can make the transformation, that we can go lighter, and we can shed a lot of unnecessarily ballast from our shoulders. Because due through the times and what we eat and what we come across with, I'm going to have to stop for a minute because I have somebody ringing on the door. If you can take over, Mr. Keshe or Sandy.
Hello, everybody. This is Caroline. Caroline asked me to take over. I'm not Mr. Keshe. Hello, everybody. I want to thank Caroline a lot for what she's doing, for her female aspects she's bringing in, which encourages a lot of women. She is somebody who inspires a lot, somebody who opens other channels. Somebody who goes first steps and others follow. I also like to thank Mr. Keshe to let these female aspects coming more and more in, because for me it's all about the balance. There has to be a balance between the female and the male aspects. So thank you very much, and thank you for the atmosphere which you've been created during the last half an hour. I can only say love is in the air. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Caroline. Thank you.
So you're
we are there. Yes. Sorry for that. But it is snowing. It's very cold. And I don't want to leave somebody standing in this freezing wind. So I wanted to release him from the freezing cold because it's really snowing here. It doesn't stop.
Yes. This is the kind of love you were just talking about, the love in expression. You can express your love through words, but you also can express your love through deeds. And this was, for example, something you just did. Thank you.
It is a gift to a lot, but people have not learned to stand still in how they behave and how they give. They have forgotten. They have forgotten the confidence that they can do, that they are doing it. I am very extrovert, so I have no problems to show somebody I care. I have no problems jumping to sort a problem out. A lot of people get nervous, and I notice, Caroline, you do the same. You jump up just to help. I've seen the same from Sandy. I've seen the same from a lot of women which are in the conferences. They do not hesitate to stay on their seat when something goes wrong somewhere. They're just there jumping. And also men. They don't hesitate to give a hand, to help, to support, to advise, to teach. That's why our groups of knowledge seekers are so beautiful, men and women, because they all carry the same charisma, to be there for the other, to give. And funny enough, we all have gone through a path of difficulties, but this is only to confirm that we will not stop giving, or not going to stop jumping up, or not going to stop trying to support when somebody else is falling down. And when parents behave like this, you see a copy in the children emerging. Sometimes it's lingering for quite a few years till they feel the same urge to be there for somebody else when they're in need. And these become really beautiful people because they're there in a flick of a second. They don't need to think. And when I ask something, it doesn't matter in which chat room, in which platform, or which knowledge seeker, they respond so fast. They're there wherever they can help, or they tell you, I know somebody who might give you an answer, or they direct you where you need to be. This is the beauty of this family. This is becoming one huge, nice family. There are a lot of souls which still need to come on board to learn more, but that's understandable because some of them just walk through the door. You cannot feel home straight away when you come into such a strange family in the first place, because none of us is talking normal. Everybody is talking in a Keshe language, as we say, or plasma language, or reactor language, or star formation. People have to get used to the terminologies which we are already for years or months or weeks used to start applying in our daily life. For the outside world, we look like aliens. We don't fit. As Mr. Keshe said, I do not wish the Keshe Foundation to go into a platform. This platform needs to be that every man outside our family, which knows the language of the foundation, can understand what we are talking about. That's why it's so important that we work with intent, feeling, emotion, and less with these technical words. Okay, once they're on board, they will walk and swim and dance with it. It's no problem. But it's these first steps. I see a lot of new faces coming on, especially because in the last few days, I have gone and posted to personal people in different Facebooks, in different levels, not only cancer, but media, newspapers, radio stations, different groups. I've joined some new groups to make sure I go and I post between that they can see there is an involvement. More or less 50% of them have sent me thank you back because they were not aware of it. So it's for us to take some time on your computers, in your Facebooks, not to stay within your own cluster of the Keshe family. Go and visit other Facebooks, pick them up, go in between, send them a message. You don't need to make them friends. You don't need to, just send them a message with the new involvements, especially about cancer. You give them a really push under the heart that there is something. And as they're searching everywhere, because there's no solution for the moment, or until last week, they find new courage, they find new energy to go and maybe explore it and pass it on and say, hey, maybe you should look into this. So open your doors. Don't be shy. You can do it. Just spend a few extra minutes on your computer and say, I will send 10 or 20 extra messages out to reach more people. Go beyond your boundaries. Don't be scared. Because if we don't tell them, I say so many times when I sit in a cafe or I go, it doesn't matter where I am, and there are people bumping into me and we start a friendly conversation, I will always, always, always introduce the Keshe Foundation. I cannot keep my mouth shut because I tell them, if I don't tell you, how are you going to find out? If I keep quiet, how are you going to know? At least you have the freedom to go and explore it. If it interests you, you will go and dig more out. Maybe you will join as a new knowledge seeker. Maybe you will start testing or even start talking to other people in the foundation to find your way. So if you all stay quiet and silence because you think they will not understand, no. Give them the first hand to introduce it. Maybe they found their path into a family which is getting so big and so generous in sharing, because I really admire all of you. You do not stop teaching. This is absolutely fabulous. You don't stop teaching, you don't stop sharing. And I really have to thank Jackie because he has made a really nice foundation where we all can now grow out of from the basic of the setting of the teaching. And he was crying for weeks. I could hear him. We need to do more. We need to go there. When he ran into problem, he asked me to go into the teaching meter, in the teachers' meeting. And I knew he needed more input, but we were not ready. With Lisa coming with a lot extra work, there's so much that needs to be done. And he couldn't do it on his own. So now we are exploring, we are growing. He's done a lot of work. He's looking after the translations. He's looking after the books. He's looking after the educational program. Stanley is there day and night. Ella is there day and night. There's so many people in the teams. So I know you're all teaching. Just put your shoulders and give it an extra hinge to let the world to know we exist. Because they're not putting it in the news, they're not putting it in the magazines, they're not putting it in world famous. It's not time yet. We need to know that we are the family that we want to come outside with. We need to carry the confidence. We will break those walls down by our knowledge, by knowing what we are doing, what we carry is correct, our intent. That's how the doors will open up. We have achieved so much, but we will achieve much more. And the new ones are getting embraced. And one of these teachers, which is embracing a lot of new ones and newcomers, is Peter. And Peter, you need to take more time to look after yourself because you spend too much time sitting down. You need to take some time to recharge your own batteries. I see a lot of teachers like Wayne, which is in California. He took the teaching of his language on his shoulders. He does the same. He's getting his batteries running out.
Yes, Caroline, can
Yes.
we stop you there, please?
Why?
You're supposed to teach.
I am teaching because
No, you're
they
preaching.
need support.
You don't-
No, they need support. They need to ask
If
for
you
help.
can add, this is our condition. If we can add to the knowledge, we carry on.
Okay,
This
no
is
problem.
that's part of our agreement with the women. We let you get the emotional a little bit, but us men are reality, physicality. We got to take you to a space.
A good question. Why do we need to go to space, Mr. Keshe?
Why did the man left West Africa or East Africa and he traveled all the way to China and into United States? We are creatures who always enjoys to see what's behind the hill. And when we get to the hill, we see another hill, we see what's behind the other hill. And then now the hill has become galaxies and universes. But the interest of the man to explore will never change. Man has created exploration for two ways. One is that because of the expansion of the community or not getting on with the others, he's moved further out to be away from others and he started new village and new community. Or he has gone further just to escape from certain conditions of the environment. Or he has decided to see what's more on the other side of the wall. We will travel. It's part of inherited sequence of the logic of the man. Exploration of new environment, new entities is the pleasure that feeds man. That's why men are scientific. They develop things, they make things. It's part of the energy that we need. The beauty of it is, how do they see us or how do we see ourselves? The whole principle of the teaching is very simple. I explain it in a very direct and a nutshell. When the man came out of the cave, or when the man started walking, he walked on two legs. Then he found that he can't carry much. Then he found a donkey. So he found out he can put half of the load on the donkey and the horse with 4 legs, so he could walk a little bit further. Then we made the carts. We found out even we can carry more. We went on the dimension of physicality. Then in time, we created the cars, and we created the engines, and we created the jet planes. And we always looked for a means to move the physicality of the man, or things the man wants. This time, instead of looking at the animals and the physicality of the move, and just being able to cross the surface of this planet, we teach the essence of the creation of the man, the way universe works, and we go through the soul of the man, that the soul travels the spans of the universe. We have changed the aeroplanes and jumbo jets and the donkeys and the carts with understanding the soul of the man, which itself can travel the span of universe in no time. My great-grandmother used to tell me, your great-grandfather used to go between Kabul and Palestine, and he used to take them nearly a year to go and come back. They were people who carried merchandise from back of the camels 200 years ago across the Persian Gulf. Now we do the same thing in few days with the trucks and few hours with the planes. Now we teach the process of using the soul of the man, that it can take you no time. In reality, what we are teaching you is a new way of transportation of the physicality of the man. But when you go to a place in a car and you started in the summer in the north where you started, or in the south, and when you got to the north in the same place as you are now, it's snowing like mad. I cannot come with this short sleeve and the shorts which I was in Accra. I have to dress different according to the snow you have. So now we teach the body of the man how to dress itself according to the environment which it comes into, without the attachment to the physicality of the matter of the planet. That's the secret. That's the only reason we are. In a way, we are a new driving instructors with new car. You've never been in a car, you're used to a donkey. I brought you a car. It's got a clutch, it's got a brake, it needs a fuel. Now, the clutch is the emotion of the man. The brake is the physicality where he ends. And the soul of the man is the engine itself. That's all it is. And then, how do you drive this car? You drive it recklessly, or you respect for the others. You don't take from them, you don't smash into other cars, you drive carefully, you get home safe, they get home safe. This is what these teachings are about. We are not teaching you how to make GANSes. The whole thing is to bring man, by seeing the evidence of the GANSes, for him to understand there is another way. Would you like still, the way I sit, I look, man with his jumbo jet and his Ferrari is still at the age of when they found the donkey and the cart, compared, or even worse, compared to the knowledge which now you can go across the whole galaxies in a flash of the fling of a light. Because now you change the energy through the soul, the energy dimension of the plasma. The pictures we showed today for the first time shows the reality that amino acid is a plasma. It's a spherical shape. It's us with attachment which makes arms and legs to it with the matter state. When we take that part of the matter state in a solid state away from it, it becomes back to a ball of itself. And then if you can go into the essence of this ball, you'll find out the essence of true creation. There's a lot of games. Why do we need to go to space? You can still stay in the village and walk around and use a donkey. Or you can learn how to drive and get into the car. Instead of spending 20 hours, you spend in 2 hours. This is the change. This is the way, the path, the key for the man to a new car. The car is the soul of the man, and the span of universe is road. It's for man to learn how to drive, where to drive, how to protect itself, and how to be safe. This is part of us. Many men in the past have achieved this, and many men have failed on the path of achieving it. In so many ways, do we need to understand, or do we need to be waiting for somebody to make us to understand? Or do we come to the path of understanding that we are part of the whole structure? When you go, a number of men or women reach the understanding of knowing how to reach their soul for the dimensions of travel in the span of universe, they become like the instructors. They teach the others. We are too eager to show what we have as human race. So in that essence, we are very fast. You got to look at it. What have we done in past 72 hours as Keshe Foundation? We know we have found the recipe at least to stomach cancer. Maybe with the research of the others more. We were more eager to get here to share it, because we have become intelligent enough to know that it's not to share, but to share we can keep another soul away from pain and suffering. This is what we are talking about. This is not to show we have discovered. It's to show that others who might be able to use it can shorten their suffering. Since Tuesday teaching, we have doctors who just want, they just want the material because they want to serve and help their patients. Because we have to understand is part of the path of teaching, part of the path of giving. The more we become detached from physicality, the more physicality we have to achieve at the higher order, which is the highest strength.
Mr. Keshe, this is Sandy. May I ask a question?
Yes.
When we're looking to know our creative energy, and we're using our innate ability, and we have the understanding of how to, or how these fields of ourselves interact. We have this knowledge and we now know it. What are some of the things that we will probably find ourselves doing as part of the understanding of this energy of ourselves? I know there could be issues as far as language, because some of the processes might not have a name yet, but if you could maybe try your best to give us a little bit of some kind of understanding of some of the processes, I'd appreciate that.
Can you repeat what you wanted to say in short?
Yeah, okay. As we mature in our understanding that we have this innate ability to create, in knowing how to interact with the fields we find ourselves in. What are some of the mechanisms we will see our body use to facilitate the transmutation? Such as certain type of breathing, moving a focal point to certain points in the body, positioning of the heart or the brain over certain lung areas, the use of certain tappings.
Each man each man will come to understand according to his own strength what it needs to change and what is the limitation of his fear of change and contentment. Some people I have to choose my word very carefully. Some people are afraid of the change, and some people are not afraid of the change, but they're afraid of the speed of the change. We see a lot of people have a problem with new technologies. We see a lot of people have problem with new ways of living. The same will be with this new technology. With this new way of understanding, as I said, we're not trying to make religion or another path of belief because we are showing something new, otherwise we'll go through the same mess as before. What is interesting is how some of us react to these changes, react to these conditions, and it'll be the same. A lot of people who will start experimenting and understanding and becoming closer to their soul, they will do things which to the eye of the present man looks a bit strange. So there are these people, you know, these are the people who go to the moon. These are the people who can disappear their hands or their legs, or they can think and I can think what they can think. I haven't taught a lot of things about the technology to you, because if I tell you in one go, you all jump off the cliff. But you understand that when the man elevates to this point of understanding the soul of himself, that in reality is equal to the soul of the others, then you understand one secret. Through the same kind of DNA as we spoke, interaction of the solar system with the galaxy's fields creating its own galaxial amino acid, in a higher order of the strength, when man matures enough, you'll find out that you are connected to the soul of the whole universal community. So if you think of it, as I said before, the more mature you become, the more advanced machinery you have, the donkey or the car or the jumbo jet. The more you become transparent to your own soul, the deeper in the depth of the universe you can travel, because it carries a higher order. Being part of the planet Earth is of the lower order. And the understanding of the totality is the enlightenment. And why do we do it? Because the more we understand. I hear Caroline on a daily basis. She's extremely emotional. And she expresses herself. But that expression, like every other woman, they nag at their husbands, does not bring enlightenment. It brings a way of path to find out how we can enlighten. You know, they say the wisdom comes from the pain. When the man finds out that he himself is part of the bigger structure that he didn't see or was not aware of, it becomes a pain to the man to know the rest of the family. And this is one part that we are counting on. We show you so much beauty in understanding the structure of yourself that you want to know more about what is actually with the others that we know we are part of, but we are not aware of. Very soon, very, very soon, a number of Keshe Foundation supporters will come to be enlightened and understand the path of transportation without physicality. I've seen this in many, many people in the past few months. Many people have not managed to understand what they do, and if once they do, they go. Arman is on the verge of it, but he's so busy trying to worry about what is lost that he misses what he's got in his hand. We got another one like this. Peter is another one. These people are reaching the point. There are people who talk about it, we've got like bread, but they cannot do it. It very much comes out of the sincerity of the soul. A number of people across Keshe Foundation are reaching the point where they reach their souls. At least they become to be able to touch. And then with touching it, they will show the others, because now you started with the hydrogen. You got a long way to go on the line of the plasma to helium. But very large number will transform, will understand. The detachment comes with it, and in being able to show that will allow the others to follow. When you don't need to go hungry, when you don't need to be cold, when you don't need to be afraid of where the next food comes from, because you can tap into universal energy, then the fear of existence goes. And when that fear goes, comes the pleasure of life. And then man gets enlightened. And then that's the time when the man will travel the depths of the universe. We've seen this many times in the life of this universe. So what it is, and you say, why do? We should do, we will do. But it needs one to do. It needs one to understand. We have many, many fraudsters. We see it. I see many of them who come in and they pretend they can do and everything else. But there are very few who are reaching that point, because they are understanding no need for physicality in the dimension of existence. Many of those who start with us in the spaceship program in Accra will come back empty-handed, unless they come with the true soul to understand the motion of the existence in the soul of the man. If you have come, or you come back with a spaceship, you come the wrong way. If you come to understand your soul is the spaceship of your body, you travel the depth of the universe. And that's the difference. I have started teaching how to absorb energy from the environment slowly to the people close to us. because the time has come to understand we can live independent. Many of you will be touched with the technology we released on GANS. Governments cannot stop the progress of man. In the coming days, next week most probably, we give you a very interesting news in respect to a lot of people. We ask you, and we asked you before, write to the Chancellor of Tokyo University and thank him for his support in whatever he's done. Whatever has done has been support for us. Even though sometimes these people look at different ways of doing things, but in totality, what we have achieved as Keshe Foundation is to elevate the soul of the man that he finds a new transportation, a correct way in traveling the depth of the universe. I asked myself many times in the recent past, why do I need to put myself through so much that demand to be free? Or somebody not to have a cancer? Why do we stand all this intimidation and separation, traveling in different parts of the world for what? For sharing knowledge? For the others to attack us? For the others to have a benefit of the joy of their psychopathic path? Why do we do this? Why do we take these risks? Why do we do these kind of things to support? It's simple. Because by giving, we understand, we achieve more. In a way, by the time I finish here, when I do my job good enough, 7 billion souls I carry, in the next job, I know where I start higher, even being one of the universal messengers. We are part of the Creator and we serve good. And this is part of the process we come. We learn that we do better next time. And in that process, we do a very good job. It's easy to enlighten the whole soul of humanity, but what happened, it was done a few thousand years ago and it created more mayhem. Look at the pyramids across the world. The enlightenment came at the same time to all the tribes. Tribes were correct in conduct, but they took the knowledge and abused it. It wasn't that one person went and taught. It was the enlightenment by the man of the universe for the totality of human race. But they abused it. And if you look across all the pyramids around the world, because the pyramids have a meaning. Those of you who were with us before, I explained it in depth. They converted the point of transportation to blocks of the pyramid. If you look at it, in one of the videos, somebody has done the same. This time, that time, there was no communication between the tribes. Different sections of the man. It took hundreds of days and months and years to convey the message. But this time, due to the communication line, is instantaneous. Many people's life will be saved by what we thought in past 48 hours. Those of you who will be touched by it, you will understand it. And the strange thing enough is that we will go and listen to those who have used the system for cancer. We'll watch them how they change. We watch them how they progress in the direction of elevation of their soul. I know what is going to happen and we'll see. There is two reasons for it. First of all, these people have been on the line of knowing there is no more life. The time of physicality on this level with what they thought they love will come to an end. Now they are given more chances for a longer time, as I say, to suffer on this planet, because this planet is nothing but suffering. The minute you're off the bed of cancer, you don't have it, the game starts. Where am I going to get the food? Where am I going to heating comes? How can I look after my children? So many times people sit across the table from me and say, can you help us with this and that? I said, I'm a scientist, I'm not a doctor. But I know how to change the environment. And the strange thing is that they want 1 day extra, 1 month extra. And I tell them, you want 1 more day of torture? 1 more day of anxiety? 1 month more? What is with this planet? They say we like it. So become habitual to pain. to abuse, and we are the abuser of ourselves. And you can go into the depth of the soul of the man, you will find out that the life can be much easier without all this pain. If you knew while I was talking to you what is going on in the background, you'll be amazed how we even stand this torture of humanity. I explained to you one day, remember today? 2 days after the cancer. And I will tell you in a few months' time what I told you to remember, and you see the consequence of it. We have withstood a lot of pressure for the pleasure of the others, but in a way, when they have the pleasure in blessing us, we elevate our own souls. They have to understand the physicality of the emotion will create a directional flow towards the Creator. And one day when the man understands that, man will give his all physicality and the soul to be in that path. Thank you very much for today. And as I said, go on the pages of the cancer processing, and we support the organizations and the communities and the doctors who are physically developing or want to develop this. I give my full support to the Iranian medical team, even if it means we travel back to Iran, this time to progress the health of the nation. To me, Iran is the same as the others, but we see they stand next to us in every move we make. We travel soon to other countries, and Ghana will be another destination for us. It's not going to be easy, but the beauty of it is, nothing is easy unless man goes to his own soul, that he finds no dimension in the realm of the creation. We don't preach, we inspire, and it's for you to find your own soul. Thank you very much.
Can we, before you end, I have one question.
My payment is finished. I was paid till 12:30. Now it's 12:35.
No.
Do I get
because
a time?
You have repeated this quite a few times, and I don't understand. Why would the man...
you see, now you understand when I say you don't understand. Says, why you tell us that you don't understand? Now you
because you use it too many times.
Okay.
What I want to know is, why do you call mankind of a lower order?
Mankind, due to the position of the physicality he has chosen to manifest itself in this dimension, is of the lower strength in gravitational magnetic field, and that's all. It doesn't mean that he's lower in the level of the soul. In physicality, yes. The soul,
yeah, but if we die, we accumulate so much energy which is equivalent to the rest of the
soul of the man in essence is from the division of the division of the division of the division of a division of many divisions of the higher strength soul. So there we are. There is, you see, every time I say correct, he agrees.
But so, if we are in the physicality and we are here to experience,
you have to understand, is our soul which has chosen this physicality.
Okay, But as even messenger, it is painful, but how could we understand even one another if we don't share the same energies, the same pains, and the same burdens to make the change?
Yeah, but the thing is, it's a progress of the intellect. Because the intellect gathered by a soul carries itself into other dimensions. This is the beauty of it.
But I thought that this, what is getting gathered here, will inspire a lot of other souls in other dimensions because they don't have this experience.
Oh, we don't have a lot of other experiences. This is not a prime land selling or prime land learning.
No. It's an addition. It's an addition.
Yep, in one way or another. In one way or another.
So it will add to the totality.
Of course.
But
the totality at the end is the same energy. It does not change.
But it increases the knowledge.
The mass of the energy of this universe is exactly equal the way it was created. It's just we have different dimension and the strength to it. Nothing has changed. It's not the conservation of energy. It's what it is converting itself from one to another and back to the other. And depends where you are, if you become part of one or the other. Any other questions before I close? Today we heard nothing from Dr. Azar. That's very strange.
There's always more questions, Mr. Keshe, depending on how much more you want to go there.
We have no problem going. Those of you, let me explain to you something. Those of you who are looking for support with the cancer, what do you call it, the processing, go back on the Keshe Foundation, what do you call it, the www.cancerprocessing.org and try to find what it is. We're going to release the papers in official form in the next few days because we are
good. Some people were asking about that.
Because some people took a screenshot or they go on the video and they screenshot it. Do not devalue such a beautiful knowledge by just a screenshot. We are working on it. We had some problems. It's getting ironed out. We deliver to you perfect documentation. Perfect documentation. That you have no problem in doing your job. But let us do it correctly because these papers have to be represented and shown in the international arena to the international community. And these original papers have to stand on their own. I have the originals, I can release them, but I want our team in Tokyo to confirm it's good enough to release. We have kept copies across the world in many servers to make sure that we don't lose anything. We've seen some misguided movement by some others in the past few days and hours, but leave it to them because we know at the end what we call the knowledge will prevail and we'll see going through. We make some announcements next week, hopefully in respect to the development of the technology in different parts of the world. Please stay with us and get involved, get yourself involved in everything we do. Because yesterday or the day before, we might have enlightened one man to save the life of his child or his wife or whatever. But the beauty of it is he has enough more to give to his society because he's there to support now that he's got no burden of the child's illness. You go through the process, write to us. At the same, we collect all the data. The doctors who've been in the background, the politicians who've been in the background, get touched back with them. We have released a leaflet on the, what do you call, cancer processing. Please take that leaflet. It's been made in different, what do you call it, ways. and plaster it across the world. Plaster it as many media as you can. If you can, you show that, please, or we better don't show it. But if you go on cancer processing, you see a green leaflet. Spread that in everywhere that people can save their lives. Don't show it because you don't know what they're going to come up with it. We know it is there. We can leave it. Our people can go there and pick it up. We have made a lot of security arrangement that we don't lose any of our websites. At the same time, we have to be correct because we're dealing with a bunch of what I call people who lost the contact with their own soul. Be correct and develop. Please move forward. Move from making GANs and making nanomaterial into dynamic systems. This is where you will understand more, and this is where we will progress. Thank you very much for today. I hope at least today you learn how you are made of. I promised you I'd show you how you are made. Now you know why you got 2 legs and 2 arms and why you're split in your brain. Thank you very
good,
much for your work.
Keshe.
That's
good
all
thing
to
today.
Klaus's work. Next time we see different, what do you call it, salt. And if you can make it, if you can get hold of a what they call, homeopathic calls the 12 salts of the body of the man, and make one of these drops in that salt. And let's see how does it stand, the amino acid and the bone structure or the calcium. Thank you very much indeed. See you next week.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe, and thank you everybody for attending today. That'll be the end of the 168th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, April 20th, 2017. And anybody, any leftover questions, bring them again next week and we'll try to address them. Okay, I'll end the live stream now. And we'll let the Zoom run for just a little bit longer.